Anytime you're buying or restoring a classic Ferrari, it's funny how the cars from the 60s, there's very few textbook examples. Original paint, original interior, totally original cars that have never been touched. As you go into the 80s, you've got a few 288s that were great cars with 1,000 miles. When you go into the 90s, there's a few more F40s, again, great cars with under 1,000 miles that are basically the template on how to restore one. When you get to cars like the LaFerrari, virtually every car has under 1,000 miles. Some of them have under 100 miles. There will be lots of examples of these cars when 50 years from now somebody wants to restore a LaFerrari. One of the greatest 4Cams we've ever found, we ended up buying the car, was a 10,000 mile original paint, original tire, original exhaust car that had never been touched, had never been molested in any way. Really great car. When we got that car in, we photographed the heck out of it because that became our blueprint for any other 4Cams we were going to restore. That was a really interesting story, and now that we're restoring another 4Cam, and we're actually going to do a series on our channel here showing the steps in doing one, we've gone back to those photographs and it reinvigorated how much fun that car was to find, drive, take to Pebble Beach, and eventually use all that great information for the next restoration. Legendary Motorcar started out of a small single-car garage in 1985. I've been through the ups and downs of the collector car market. I've been lucky enough to turn my passion into my business. My team shares that same passion, and together we buy, sell, restore, and race some of the greatest cars on the planet. I'm Peter Klutt, and this is Legendary Motorcar. Sometimes a sober second look at a car reveals some things that you don't see when you first look at a car, especially when you're so excited. So when the car comes off the trailer, I just fell in love with the car again.
So we knew what we had when we pulled the car in and loaded it up, but when we unloaded it at the shop and we pulled it out in the sunlight, you could see the welds down the fenders. I mean, like, there was no stories anymore. You could see the car for what it was.
After seeing the car and getting the car bought, I thought this is one car that would have a shot at winning the preservation class at Pebble Beach. I've never shown a car in preservation class, so I call a good friend of mine, McKeel Haggerty. He's judged a bunch of classes and he's judged preservation. He's real involved with that class, so I'm asking him for his advice on how to handle it and what we should do to the car.
You know, a preservation class car is not a barn find class. I mean, I know there's some shows that have kind of barn finds where literally you know, will present a car with cobwebs in it and dirt on it.
Okay. Yep.
That is not what this is about.
Okay.
You know, a preservation class car, it almost universally across all the events, and certainly at Pebble Beach, it's the story of its preservation. You know, going to have signs of wear. It's going to have paint, you know, chips in the paint. It's going to have probably some pits in the, you know, in the trim and those sorts of things. That's all fine.
So really what it sounds like is you just want us to clean it as best we can and not disturb any of it.
Well, that's right. Present it in its best possible light.
No, I think that helps me a ton as far as what we need to do. Hey, McKeel, I really appreciate the input, and we'll see you down there.
Thanks for giving me a call.
All right. Thanks, take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. The fact that Bill had the foresight to keep the original tires and the original mufflers, even though he had taken them off the car, was incredible. I knew we had to put those parts back on the car. It would probably be the only 275 4Cam in existence with its original tires and mufflers. I know you're going, why do we want to save this? This is the original mufflers from that 4Cam. It looks like he had a massive backfire, and you can hear it like. So I don't know what you want to do.
Well, I think if we can cut this piece out, then we can leave our original spot welds and welds in, and we can take a look and see just what the baffles are like inside. And see what we got? Yeah. Okay. Okay, why don't you cut it out first, call me, and then we'll see what we got. Sure. Okay, thanks. Thanks.
What's the good news?
Well, it's like she's melted down inside.
What, it just dumped fuel in there and catch fire?
Must have filled up with fuel and just
And
burned
then
itself
boom.
down.
So this is just the asbestos?
Yep.
Can we hollow this out and then... We came up with a game plan to rebuild the original muffler. We basically gutted the original shell. We added our own perforated pipe, which was done in 304 stainless. We then added a fiber mesh around the pipe. After that, we put asbestos around it and packed the entire muffler with a fiberglass packing. We added the inner shell that we built in steel, and then around that we added more asbestos just like the original. Now we were ready to reinstall the original outer shell with the correct markings on it. After grinding it clean, welding it in place, and finishing the weld so you could not tell it had been removed, we had to make the areas that we'd cleaned off by doing all the grinding match the original patina of the original muffler. So we added some muriatic acid and just let it sit, and eventually it would rust up the same as the rest of the system. While Jay finished off the muffler, Lou was working on mounting the original tires.
On this tire, there's a French side and an English side. How would you like me to mount it?
Okay, let me look at the spare. Let me see.
Okay.
The spare tire had a lot of information to give us, all the original markings, and we were able to figure out what they all meant. Lou, that spare has never been down, but
Yeah.
it's telling us something. Okay?
Yeah,
Okay, see this here?
correct.
This is where the valve is going to come through. There was an A on the spare. Okay, the red dot I think is from the one side.
Yeah.
Is there green on this side? There it is. Okay, see the green, little bit of green?
Yeah.
Whatever side the green is on the inside. Whatever side the red mark is
Yeah.
on the outside.
Yeah.
And where the red mark is, there was an A, and I think that's where the valve stem comes out. Okay? And then make sure you use, because we got two, these are the ones out of the new tires. Make sure you use the original tubes, okay, the ones that say made in Italy, the original Michelins.
Correct.
Okay? Again, the whole idea was just to uncover the originality of the car. So everything was just cleaned with soap and water and some mild cleaners. Once the guys had cleaned it top and bottom, inside and out, I wanted to take it for a road test, and then we would give it one final cleaning just before it got loaded up. I'm pleasantly surprised that the tires, I mean, they were chewed up a little bit in the beads, and man, they feel good. By far my all-time favorite, road car as far as Ferraris go. It's just got a mix of everything. It's got, the look of a GTO and beautiful performance and a 5-speed gearbox, so you can cruise all day on the highway just effortlessly at high speeds. For 7 years, I'd been chasing this original paint 10,000 mile GTB 4Cam. We were real careful in getting the car ready for Pebble Beach, only doing preservation work like McKeel had told us. We'd installed the original mufflers, put on the original tires, and cleaned the car from top to bottom. It was ready to go to Pebble. One of the highlights that kicks off the whole Pebble weekend is McCall's Jet Party. Everybody's there, some of the neatest cars on the planet, some of the coolest planes out there. It's just a great party.
So after 22 years of throwing this kickoff party for what is known as Monterey Car Week, we decided to reshape our tarmac here by utilizing 2 hangars, bringing in a few more people, a few more privately owned airplanes, a few more privately owned cars, and just taking it back for being a party.
Most people think that the cars that end up on the lawn at Pebble Beach are trailer queens. Untrue. Over 200 cars did this tour and drove up and down the coast and went to Laguna Seca. It was really neat to see fresh, restored cars on the road just getting driven.
Hey, Peter. Keel. How are you doing?
Good to see you.
Good to see you. So here it is, huh?
Here it is. I'm a little nervous. We got the original tires on it. So is this a long tour or what happens here?
It's about 60 miles, but you know, it's very civilized. It's not a race. It's a tour.
Not too bad.
But if it was, you know, I'd like your chances.
Yeah, pretty good. So is it just around 17-mile drive? Or?
Well, I mean, there's segments of it that are on 17-mile drive. They, you know, kind of tour past the lodge, and there'll be people sort of watching. And the idea is, when they started the tour, and I remember when Jay Human came up with the idea that we need to get away from these cars being treated like trailer queens at Pebble Beach. So let's do a 60-mile tour, and in fact, let's go over the Laurelis grade, you know, that goes between Carmel Valley and over by the Laguna Seca racetrack. Cool. Which is, from a judging perspective, there's a little preference that's given to the cars that go on the tour and complete the tour. Awesome. Because, you know, what we're looking for is real cars. Yeah. Cars that work, that operate, you know, that can complete a 62-mile drive.
So the jet party when we first got there was cool, but I mean, the Monterey weekend for me really started when we got in the 4Cam and did the 60-mile rally. We did 18 miles from Pebble Beach up to Laguna Seca. We got to do a lap of Laguna Seca, which was a super neat track. And then we went down the coast where there's just people all up and down the roads just watching us.
Driving up and down the coast in California with Gary was a highlight of the weekend. What made it extra special is I'd been hunting this car for 7 years. I didn't think this moment would come.
This is my first time going down to Pebble Beach, so I didn't really know what to expect the day of the show. I had no idea that my dad got so jacked up about these things. He had us up at 3:30 in the morning, cleaning the car, getting it ready, getting coffee, and just setting it up on the field.
Everybody's at their trailer at 4 a.m. the day of the show, doing the final preparations, driving down to the actual field and getting set up. It was kind of an eerie morning. The fog was just kind of rolling off the shore. It would take a while for it to burn off, and just hard to keep the cars clean.
I've been to a lot of car shows in my life and a lot of car events and concourses, but this is by far taken the most seriously in North America.
Okay, perfect. Get it out. Okay, there you go. That's perfect.
Pebble Beach used to have the name that it was only for shiny cars and restored cars, and a lot of good cars ended up getting restored that probably didn't need it. Some years ago, more than 10 years ago, we decided that preservation is very important because these are not just guys with old cars, these are rolling pieces of art and important documents of the past, and I think the automobile is probably the most important icon of the 20th century. We have a lot of cars that apply. We're still, you know, the Super Bowl of car shows, so it's not just any well-preserved car. The cars have to be special. They have to have energy, and people now have stopped destroying these wonderful, you know, documents of history. Yeah.
Our car was judged in the preservation class, but it was also an entrant for the FIVA award. 2 sets of judges went over the car.
So FIVA, you know, is the international organization that scrutineers and judges cars that are well preserved.
Yep.
And so what we're looking for is, you know, the story and the evidence of how this car has been preserved.
Every car has a story, right?
So
Yes.
if you wouldn't mind just telling us, tell us about the 275.
I chased this car for 7 years. This was the guy I bought it from, so this is him in '69 with the car. This is the original guy that buys it. And you notice 10803. He traded in a Mura and a Ghibli for 10803. So Canetti writes him a check for $5,000. Okay. Then Skay sells it in '69, and then we have every title until '82. Okay, '82 it comes off the road, and that's how I buy it.
Like that.
It was a shelf. But what he did is he put it in the garage, up on jacks, greased and oiled everything to preserve it, and then all we did is we washed it. Okay, the original tires, the original mufflers are on the car, the original tubes made in Italy are in the tires. Every stencil is original on the car. All the markings, the paint markings on the springs, you know, every nylock on it. And then you can still see the graining on every piece, still see the heat treating. Because he greased everything, like oiled everything, there was no surface rust. I have to say the judges were extremely knowledgeable and very thorough.
So 3 cars in our preservation class were told to bring their cars up to the stage for the awards, but no one was told whether they won or not. So lined up with the other cars, with the Lambo on our right and the Porsche on our left, when they called the Lamborghini for 3rd place, I knew we had a shot to win the thing.
Now it's just between the 4Cam and the Porsche.
And in 2nd place, it's the 1967 Ferrari 275 GTB 4.
So after 7 years of my dad calling this guy and finally buying it, we had a quick turnaround. We shipped it down to California. We brought it to Pebble Beach. We ended up 2nd in the preservation class. We did the big long tour. You know, this is one of the best car stories that I've really ever heard.
The whole Pebble Beach experience was just spectacular. The people were great, the cars were spectacular. It was just a really, really cool event. Doing the 100-mile tour with Gary was one of the highlights of the weekend. We didn't win the FIVA award. We finished 2nd in class in the preservation class. It was an exciting weekend. It was a ton of fun. It's something that's on my calendar for the rest of my life every year.